Welcome to Jazz Time! Jazz Time is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch, click the link in the description below to buy it at the lowest price anywhere online. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Patek Philippe World Time Flyback Chronograph reference 5935A. I'm going to talk to you about the bezel, the dial, the case, the bracelet, the movement, give you a little bit of history, talk about its competitors, try it on, and give you my thoughts. So, let's start. This is the World Time Flyback Chronograph. It's a newly released watch as of 2023. It has its roots from another World Time Flyback Chrono, which is very similar to it, but it's just a tad smaller with the reference number 5930, and that was 39.5 millimeters. Patek Philippe changed the size from 39.5 millimeters to its current size, which is 41 millimeters. And you might think, well, it's only 1.5 millimeter difference, but it actually does make a lot of difference. And I believe, and so does Patek Philippe, that the size difference makes the watch much more A, legible, and B, it just kind of looks better. The older version, the 5930, which this was derived from, had the dial and the words and everything smashed in the center, and it just honestly looked a bit too cluttered. Opening it up just a little bit, just 1.5 millimeters, allowed it to have a little bit of space and keep things a little bit bigger because people are liking bigger watches right now. So Patek Philippe answered that by releasing this World Time Flyback Chrono that hits all the marks. Okay, so let's talk about the case here. Now, this case is made of stainless steel. It's not very common that Patek Philippe makes a stainless steel watch, especially in the complications. There are only 3 complications that are made in stainless steel, and there are around 40 complications. So that's not a whole lot. I think that's around 5% of watches that are made in stainless steel. It's the weekly calendar. It's made in steel 5212. The annual calendar moon phase, which is 5905, is also made in steel. And then, of course, there's this World Time Flyback Chrono, which is what you're looking at right here, which is the 5935, which, of course, is steel. And that's it. There's no other steel watches. Now, why do they do that? I'm not really sure, but it's rare to have a steel watch. Steel is an excellent material to use because it's very robust, it's easy, you can polish it many times, you can use it for daily wear, and in some ways it kind of looks like white gold, or white gold looks like stainless steel. So it's not bad, and it also matches everything because of the color. Rose gold sometimes, or yellow gold, doesn't match everything, and it's a little too blingy sometimes. So this stainless steel, it's a good color and it's a good material. Okay, and that said, it is 41 millimeters from my thumb to my index finger. And that's across from the 8 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position, the longest distance across the bezel. That part is 41 millimeters. Now, this World Time Flyback Chrono also kind of has its roots not only in the 5930, which I just talked about, but also it has roots in the World Time. Now, the World Time is reference number 5230. The World Time only has the World Time. This one has a chronograph which tells you how much time has elapsed in a 60-minute period, along with the World Time, so it has 2 complications. The World Time itself, 5230, has only 1, and it's also smaller. It being around 38 millimeters versus this one, which is 41. Which makes sense because this watch, the 5935, has 2 complications. Okay, now let me turn the watch on its side so you can see the side profile since we are talking about the case. Now, the side profile of this watch is only 12 millimeters, 12.75 actually. To give you some reference, a Datejust is about the same, around 12 millimeters or so. So it's not a very thick watch, and if you consider what it does, it has a chronograph and a World Time being at 12 millimeters is actually amazing. If you look at the Datejust, which just tells you the time and date, it's only 12 millimeters as well. So Patek Philippe really knows how to take their watch and make them so thin and wearable because, actually, to be honest, the thinner the watch, the more wearable it is. Now, why is that? Because, well, it leaves a lower profile of the watch as it sits on your wrist so it doesn't snag on against a doorway or against a cuff. And it kind of seamlessly blends with the rest of your hand. And Patek Philippe is known for taking all these complications and making it so thin that nobody can copy it. Like AP, they can't. Vacheron, they can't copy it, and they're known for making things thin. And it's difficult to make watches thin because you have to cram in this situation. There's something like 300 plus parts. For this watch here, it's actually 343, and they have to cram it all in this tiny little space. Making it thin is amazing. It's unbelievable that they can actually do that, and that's probably why Patek Philippe is a premier watchmaker that most people consider one of the 3 best watchmakers in the world. Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and Vacheron Constantin, or Vacheron Constantin. And I really do have to agree. Now, I'm not saying that in any order AP and Patek are fighting for number 1 and 2 spot, I believe. It's hard to say which one is better because they're both just so good. But I do believe that Vacheron is coming in 3rd place and probably Rolex for number 4. But, okay, anyways, that is the side profile. Now, since we are still talking about the case, what I do want to show you is the beautiful work on the case itself. Look at the lugs. The lugs is where the case of the watch connects with the strap. You'll notice that they don't just put regular lugs here. They put this very beautiful beveled edge so that the lugs are not just simple lugs. They look like they're kind of stuck on there, but they've really done it with such care and beauty that it looks fantastic. And actually, by the way, if you look at the World Time, it's the same lugs as the World Time. It's actually the same lugs as its predecessor, the 5930. So they've kept that kind of same DNA as from the World Times. I mean, I think that's just a great way to do the lugs. Now let's turn it on its left side so we can take a look at the pusher. There's not a lot of watches that have pushers on the left, which is a really cool detail. And I'm going to get to show you how to do it in just a moment. But the pusher is on the left. When you look at it, it gives the watch a very nice profile from the 9 o'clock side. Now let me turn it on its right side so you can see the pushers on the 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock position, and the crown, of course. And there's all of these facets and bevels and edges that make the watch look so very sporty. Anytime you add a lot of these edges, it makes the watch look really sporty and very everyday wearable. It also reminds me a lot of the AP angles. AP is a very sporty watch, and usually Patek Philippe has very soft line, very curved lines. If you look at any other of their watches, that seems to be the case. In this one, they used much more harsh lines, and I believe it made it look much more casual, and maybe that's why they put it on stainless steel. So then, if you look at the 3 o'clock side on the profile, it just looks fantastic. I mean, almost from every angle, the watch looks amazing. Okay, now let's move ahead and let's talk about the bezel. To be honest, the bezel is pretty plain. It's just a dome bezel. I can't really say much about it. It's domed, and there's not much else to say. But the dial, let's talk about that. The dial is very interesting. Now, I'll show you how to work this thing in just a moment, but what do I want to say about this? Okay, this is a salmon dial, and that's really awesome. It's actually got a rose glint opaline with carbon motif dial. And then our markers have charcoal gray applied hour markers with a luminescent coating. Okay, and what that basically means is that the hour markers 1 through 12 are actually gold. However, they do have charcoal gray gold applied to it, so they look gold, and they applied a sort of black paint or black charcoal, whatever that is, over it. So honestly, strange. You use a precious material like gold and make it an hour marker and then coat it with a different color. I mean, that's an attention to detail. It's incredible if you think about it. They could have just used a different material though, maybe not a precious metal, but they chose to do that. And I believe the reasoning behind that is because it allows the hour markers to forever stay that way and look like this. And they often say one of Patek Philippe's taglines is, "You never really own a Patek Philippe. You only look after it for the next generation." And you know what? They prove that by the craftsmanship of their watches. This is something that most people would not even look at or even care, but Patek Philippe wants to make sure that this watch basically will look like this for the rest of your life and the life of your son or daughter, or whoever gets this. So they're really looking after every single watch, and rightfully so, because the price tag on this is 60-something thousand. And by the way, if you do want to get it at the lowest price anywhere online, go to jazztime.com. Anyway, now let's get back to the dial here. I told you this is a salmon dial, which is pink or salmon, however you want to call it. And they call it rose glint opaline. I think it's probably easier just to call it salmon. That's what most people are going to call it. Now, if you look at the center of the dial here where their hour markers are, it's amazing. They used what's called a carbon motif. So that's what these little X patterns are. And how much does that affect the watch? Well, if you ask me, I believe that this carbon motif pattern gives the watch an even more casual, even more wearable look. Now, had they done, if you look at the world time, the 5230, they used to do what's called a guilloche pattern, and that makes the watch look very dressy. Guilloche is a technique that they use this giant machine. I've actually seen the machine one time when I was in Geneva, and it's just this massive machine that you have to manually use and master. And it puts these patterns onto the watch, and it takes, I think, a very long time to do it. Now, they didn't do that in this situation because they didn't want to make this watch so dressy. So instead, they chose this carbon motif, which I think looks fantastic. All right, now let's try looking at the movement here. All right, and we're going to do the movement and how to use this thing in just a moment, kind of together. So let's talk about the movement. The movement is a flyback chronograph. It has a central chronograph and a 30-minute counter. So I might have said 60 earlier. I have to take that back. It is 30, not 60, a 30-minute counter. So you start at the top and then you reset at the bottom. And it's being a flyback chrono, you can just hit the bottom button to restart without ever having to start and stop it again. Now, it has a 34.5mm diameter and it has 343 parts, as I mentioned. It has a power reserve of 50 hours, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, it just means it's a really good movement. It looks amazing, and it's a Patek Philippe movement. There's not much to say after that. It's a fantastic movement. It has all the things that you would imagine a Patek Philippe would have. Okay, now let's talk about the dial, because that's the thing that we have to actually use. You probably look at the movement a few times, admire it, and then close it back on your wrist. But the dial, that's something that you actually use. Okay, now the first thing you're going to do is I'm going to set the hands here at 10:10, but 10 p.m. And then since our company, Jazz Time, is in California, I would send it to Los Angeles time. So how you do that is you press the upper left hand button that you see here is Los Angeles centered at the very 12 o'clock position. I have it set at 22. So it says 22 Los Angeles, 10:10, that's the time. Now there's actually two ways that you can tell another time in another country or time zone. You can simply look down because they have the numbers here. You can just look down and tell them. Now let me give you an example. Look at Paris. You can see Paris around here. It's between 4 and 5 o'clock. It says 7. And it has an arrow pointing to Paris. That means it is 7:10 in Paris. And let's say you want to see the time in Tokyo. So Tokyo over here on the left, that means 1500. It's 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock or 1500 o'clock is 3:10 p.m. in Tokyo. So that's how you tell the time on this watch, 3:10 in Tokyo. Now, let's say you wanted to tell the time in, let's try another place, in Hawaii. You could look at Hawaii. Hawaii would be 2000. That's the number that's pointing to 2000. So it's 8 o'clock. It would be 8:10. Does that seem right to you? No. I don't think it is, because Hawaii's time is actually 3 hours behind. It would be 7. Yeah, that's strange. It should actually... Yeah. Okay, I figured it out. All right, let's start that again. Okay, when you put Los Angeles at the 12 o'clock position, and you have to set the times, let's say at 10:10, okay, and then you have to look at any other time zone. For example, you look at Paris, it says 7 or 7:10. And then you look at the left-hand side, you see Tokyo, it would be 15. So that means it is 3:10 p.m. in Tokyo. Then if you look at New York in the right-hand corner one, that means it's 1 a.m. Makes sense because New York is 3 hours ahead of Los Angeles. It is 10 p.m. Then New York would be 1 a.m. Makes sense? Okay. Now, you know what's interesting? I was just checking this. The time on Google and actually this world time does not work for places that do not observe daylight savings. So what places don't observe daylight savings? I'll give you a couple examples. Hawaii. Hawaii does not observe daylight savings. Neither does Moscow. They do not observe it. Bangkok, they don't. So these places are always going to be off by 1 hour. Okay, right, so it's 10 p.m. If I scroll down to this thing and let's put it at Hawaii, okay, I've clicked through to Hawaii until I see it at the 12 o'clock position. It says here that it's 8:10 in Hawaii, but I just checked Google and it is 7:10 in Hawaii, okay? So unfortunately, it doesn't work for daylight savings places that don't observe daylight savings, or actually, I guess it only works half the time. Because half the year you have it switched to forward and the other half you have it switched backwards in time. So it actually only works half the time. Okay, but anyways, it's a really cool idea. You can make adjustments instead of just clicking it 2 times. You can just push it 3 times. But anyways, so the dial is very cool and it tells you the time throughout the world's time. It also has a very useful function, which is this chronograph. You start, stop, and you can check the elapsed time. I would probably say that these are very useful functions, considering that a lot of us do business or have loved ones, etc. in other states or other countries and would like to know what time it is over there. Also, we have to time things, like, for example, like how long has your steak been cooking, or how long has the water been boiling, how long the line takes, or how long to call somebody back for whatever reason. These are very useful functions. Okay, moving on from all of this, let's talk about the strap. Now, it comes with 2 straps. I really can't say a whole lot about them. It's a calfskin grained half-stitch strap, and they give you 2 different ones. But it doesn't really matter. You could also change this for whatever one you like. So I really can't say that it really matters so much. Okay, and that's the strap. I talked about the movement. I guess I've talked about every single part. So let's try this on. I am 200 pounds, I'm 6 feet tall, and as you can see from this watch, it looks fantastic on my wrist. I have to say, I'm a very big fan of the World Time. The World Time line has been around for a very long time. I want to say 80 years or something like that, or 100 years, I'm not quite sure, but a very long time. It's an iconic line that Patek has made, and there's not a lot of companies that do the World Time. And Patek is probably the best at it, as they are for many different things. I just think it looks like an amazing watch. I think it's much better than its predecessor, the 5930. I definitely would not get a 5930 because I don't like that it's such a small size and the cramming everything together was a good idea. No, it just didn't work. And Patek Philippe agrees because they made it larger, and so I believe that the larger size, which is what you see here, is far superior. If I were to buy one, I would definitely get this one, and I like the watch and steel. It gives it a very casual look. I think it's also a little bit better than the actual World Time because the regular World Time without the chrono. Why? Because that one is actually a little hard to read. Those hands on the World Time are not luminescent, first of all, and they're just white gold, and it's very small. So I would have to say this one, for the first time, really smashed it and did a great job with this World Time. Very wearable, and it's very functional. And I don't think that they could really do much better, and this is a perfect watch. Anyways, if you would like to buy this watch, click the link in the description below and buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.